Hey everybody, so today we're going to be looking at our first attempt for the Mythic+10s. So we're running our usual comp, the DK Enhancement Shaman, Marksman Hunter, and a Windwalker Monk. So originally we were going to be going with the double tank setup, but the Death Knight tank is actually quite capable in these Mythic+10 so far, and we haven't needed to actually revert to bringing a second tank. And the other thing is because they did nerf the tank damage just recently, it's not as viable to bring two tanks. So currently, and also this week's affixes don't really help out having two tanks. Bolstering is fairly easy to deal with only one. Um, the real reason you want to be bringing two tanks is like in general is because of the necrotic debuff. Having two tanks there, you can just taunt off for bosses. It just makes the entire place a lot easier. Um, So what we have for this, we have the mobs have the plus 10 affix we got was I forgot the name of it, but it's the plus 40% damage and 20% health. So essentially these mobs are doing, they have 100% from the keystone so they have 200% damage that gets multiplied by 40. Um, so they're doing, let me just get out that quick calculator. So they have 200% damage, multiply that by 1.4. So they're doing 280% of the damage they're usually doing, and they also have the bolstering affix on there, which multiplies that by 20 for every time something dies near it. So our general strategy for bolstering is we either just kill things together, or if there's a pack where we need to CC, we will be CCing the mobs, pulling them away to 40 yards, and killing them individually. So you'll see us doing this while attempting to do this here. I think we CC one of these mobs and kill the other two. Just see how we do it. So yeah, CC and a hex, but then they don't break out, so we break the sap, and we just kill the two together. So so far the Disc Priest is holding up very well in the Mythic Pluses. They are definitely one of, if not the strongest Mythic Plus healer. The damage they bring is ridiculous. Um, it is pretty much going to be. I wouldn't say it's essential for all the world like the realm first plus 15s, but it's definitely my recommendation. Um, just you can generally get past all the tank damage just with proper CC, and especially because this week's affixes are the bosses don't have the plus 20% damage and health. Bringing an actual healer isn't as beneficial. Um, So we will be going for the plus 15 over the weekend. So hopefully we'll get that. If not, we'll have to wait till next week till the next gear comes out. We did take a little bit of time off to get the plus 15s, but because they did nerf the gear you get from the Mythic Pluses, pretty much just to make the heroic raids not dead on arrival, we're not going as hard as we would. And obviously the prices of potions and flasks at the moment are ridiculous. So we are looking to push to about 13, and then we're going to start to be using potions on every pool and expensive food and all the rest of it. To my knowledge, augment runes aren't available in the Mythic Pluses yet, so that's actually quite good because they're like 500 gold a pop each too. Obviously with this very low gear level, everything helps a lot. So as you can see here, we fuck up quite hard with the CC. This is our first run we have been doing on this Mythic plus 10. A few people in this, actually, I don't think anyone in this group really preps for, or got beta access. So they're all like first new to this Mythic plus 10. They're all very experienced players, just they haven't been in the Mythic pluses. So I mean, Mythic Realm first is going to be quite an achievement if we get it with no practice. Um, I was talking to someone who had it, and they said only around they only knew of 4 groups who got it on the beta realms for the at least US. So it would be quite nice to be able to get it. But obviously, we'll see how it goes over the weekend. Um, and if we can actually get up to the plus 15s, it's really just going to be whether we hit a wall with either. It's definitely going to be a wall with with just like a one boss ability that might just one-shot our group. So we'll see. If not, we will be trying for it next week with the additional gear from Mythic and Heroic. But by then, I have a feeling we are probably going to be outraced by people who can split clear split clear heroics and mythics and stuff, because there are already people on the server who are, well, like 5 to 10 item levels higher than us. So I believe in this right now I'm about 856 item level. And that's the same with the rest of the group. None of it, we don't split clear in our raid. We only raid 3 hours a week, and we're currently 5 of 7 heroic. So our gear isn't anything amazing. We do have a very good comp. This is probably one of the best comps. Maybe drop the shaman for another monk would be beneficial. And you could even there's nothing even wrong with running 3 monks. Just having another hunter is nice for the for some abilities not to be on the healer for sometimes, which might be very helpful in some boss fights. So as you can see here, you almost get one hit from the shadow orbs to soak, and there is my shadow play freezing again. Lovely. The new update for GeForce 3 has really dicked around with my shadow play. I'm not sure why it freezes and does all that, but it's quite frustrating. It also had an issue today with the last driver that all the sound is now kind of out of whack, so that's why I'm doing this recording. So as you can see here, pretty much all you need to be doing for this boss is for the dark slashes, you need to be popping a cooldown. So I was trying my best to be getting the shields on the tank before the dark slashes went off. Here we go, another freeze, lovely. So Fear comes out, try and top up the tank. He's doing a dark slash in about 7 seconds. We'll see if I actually get the powered shield on him. Obviously stacking up the smites is a nice barrier. Yep, there you go, powered shields. Instantly off down to 30% HP. So that's kind of the strat for this. We didn't struggle with many of the bosses on this this Mythic+10. As I said, this is our first try with the depleted keystones. Obviously you can have as many attempts as you want to try and get to the timer. You only just get loot off the first one. So we just thought we would finish this, see how we go, and we're gonna come back tomorrow and push through. So I believe right about now, I get a phone call, so I actually have to go take that, which is kind of a bummer. So I'll skip it when that happens. I believe it's after the next few trash packs, and I have to actually go for about an hour. So that's why you see our timer is actually like an hour and 27 minutes on this. We could have actually probably done it in the timer for this attempt. The last boss is actually quite easy if no destructor tentacles spawn behind the healers. And the timer for More of Souls is definitely one of the most lenient. So yeah, we ended up doing the Mythic+8. I know the Eye of Ashara one I uploaded has. If anyone watched the actual end of it, they'll know. There you go, another freeze, lovely. If you watch the end of the video, there is, it says we got the keystone. There's obviously an issue there with the client and server side. So the keystone, it gave us that you have completed within the timer, and then the run didn't actually give us the upgraded keystone. So we went back into that today, and we got the +2 on it. So that's how we got this +10. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how much more like time we have to do on some of the dungeons. So we got a +2 upgrade on the +8. So that's the benefit of bringing the Disc Priest. Any little bit of damage helps, and obviously the DK tank damage is quite high too. So here, pull some dogs, yuck. With the bolstering, you can see they'll become huge and do 150% increased damage because of bolstering being multiplicative. So any time you pretty much mispull something in these Mythic pluses, it's an instant wipe. We try and at least kill one. I think I target the wrong one in the end. Yeah, as I'm targeting this one, I should have been targeting the low HP one that I had Shadow Word Pain on. Would have been a free kill, but no. Anyway, so we have a little bit of grave wiping here as we try to clean this back up. Wasn't really the best strategy. But we're not really too concerned about the timer. We kind of went into this one just going, oh, we'll complete it and we'll go back and we'll see how we do. I have a feeling when we actually go back into this, we can probably get the +2, which would be quite handy. because 20 minutes for this dungeon. You can see how quickly we cleared the first little part. We did that in 5 minutes, so you essentially have another 20 minutes to do this 2 mobs, on the right hand side, and then you're going to do 2 mobs on the left hand side as you're running towards the last boss, and then the last boss. None of the bosses take very long, so and our DPS is really high on the bosses. So I think just after this pack is when we go AFK. We also discovered a nice little bug actually doing this on Mythic+2 just after this run, which I probably won't be disclosing until we get the +15. But that'll be a nice tip for anyone who's watching later on. So I believe about just here I'm going AFK. So I'll fast forward right. Okay. So here we go, just for the 2 champion packs. So as we have here, we just have our shaman and monk. They pretty much just call out whether they're interrupting skull. The other DPS will be interrupting the off target. So one skull, one non-skull, and then our hunter and DK just pretty much back up when they can't get them. So we're all friendly. We play a lot together, and we just generally are pretty vocal about everything we're doing. So it's quite good. So these 2 champion packs, they do have an enrage, as you can see here, lots of just Shadow Mend healing, but the damage is still like a very high, even if you have to be using a lot of Shadow Mends. So what's that, like 140k at the end of that pack? That's pretty much just using like Penance Mind Mender off cooldown. So the damage is definitely there, and it's only going to get higher with more artifact abilities and more gear. I've been actually currently putting a lot of artifact power into my holy weapon because disc isn't as good as I would have expected in the raids. I will probably be still playing it for a lot of the encounters, but there are some things like Il'gynoth where disc just isn't that viable. I mean, it depends what we get to Mythic. Obviously, I'm gonna be maining disc. I'm gonna be trying to play it for as many fights as I can, but I'm not that stubborn to not switch to holy or shadow when it's a better option. And there's another freeze, lovely. So freezing again. I have to reinstall the GeForce Experience V2 and do all that stuff. It's not working out, these freezes. So this boss, our strategy is just move around with the tank. Nothing too crazy. Everyone should be stacked up for this. There's no reason really to be spread out. The blades aren't too hard to dodge, and they don't do too much damage, so it's not too big of a problem to be stacked up. Here we do get knocked back into a corner, so we are saying when we should move. So I'm just trying to top everybody off before we go for a little YOLO run. It's coming over now, so we chuck down a barrier. I'm going to run through, but luckily it disappears. So it wasn't too big of a drama. If we were going to run across it, everyone's just going to be, take about a few 100k damage. Nothing too hard to actually heal up as a disc priest. You do have a lot of passive healing, so that's not a problem. My Shadowmans are healing at the moment for like the over 700k crits, which is more than my 845 Resto Shaman. So the single target healing is there with the Shadow Mend. It's a very quick spell. It doesn't cost too much mana. Applies atonement. Blah blah blah. So your single target healing is actually pretty good. You just have to be you have to know the fact, like, you have to be able to damage too. You can't just sit there spamming Shadow Mend all day because you're not going to be doing any AoE healing or anything else. You don't actually lose too much damage dropping Purge of the Wicked, so it's nice. So these packs here we just do nice and slow. Everybody chooses their target and whatnot. For some reason I actually get the achievement on this, even though the Valkyrie died and I've already gotten the glory achievement on my character. So I have no idea what was going on there. That's why I was looking up through my achievements. So yeah. For these packs, we just take nice and slow, just interrupting the fear, interrupting the heals when possible. Yeah, there's not much to say with these packs. Might just fast forward a little bit until we get to something interesting. Okay, and now back to tons of fun, Mr. Party Hat Boss. This is the real end boss of the dungeon. So this guy actually counts as towards your mob count. So he does count as a white mob, which means he does get the bonus damage, health. So you can see here starts out all fine, but once the cooldowns run out and once we start getting hit by mechanics and falling off a little bit, it does start to get a lot harder. So you know blood DKs do work a lot of cooldowns, which makes them quite good for these Mythic pluses because they can rotate through quite a bit when needed. But people hitting the slashes, me falling behind, casting Shadow Mend, yeah, not good. This is the situation you just don't want to be in a disc race. This is where you can't come back from, and if this is what all your Mythic pluses are looking like, where you're behind like this is where you want to be rolling something else. See there, I die to that dash. That's just bad me. So I'm calling out with the tank to sprint back to me here. Yeah, this is actually our second attempt on it, I believe, because this is where we kill it. So you probably have already seen the first attempt. So yeah, so we pull it back because you can grave run. This is actually probably going to be what we're just going to be doing on the we try for the speed run. We'll just pull it back to the end here, so in case anybody dies, we can save a B-res for the last boss and just grave run it. If we're good players, we can kill it there. If people do just slashes, but we actually have to be awake for that. So we'll see how we go. You can see it literally just even the mobs here hit ridiculously hard. So it gives about 7% enemy forces there, I believe it was. So we're just going to be killing the mobs on the left hand side here, and then up to Helia. Yeah, so the changes to the loot last minute were really, well, they're not, it's not kind of game changing, but it did kind of ruin what we were going for. If we could farm out Mythic Plus, get the 865s, it would make this significantly easier. I mean, right now we're kind of stuck to farming Mythic Plus 2s on, bringing in someone's ult every single time, and just keep going for them. But that gets kind of tiring after a while. I'd prefer to be pushing these high ones. Dropped a few 100,000 gold like tonight on pretty much just potions, so we have a lot to use tomorrow and see where we can go. But yeah, it's really gonna be like what dungeons we get for the next 5. If we get a bad dungeon, we'll just be rotating to a different keystone. Archway, Blackrock Hold, so they're probably the 2 we want to stay away from. If we get Neltharian's Lair, that's pretty much like an instant completion. That dungeon is ridiculously easy. The time is very easy. None of the bosses are very hard at all. The only thing hard about that place is the trappers, and with proper CC, they are quite easy to deal with. So that's we're hoping, if we get a plus 15 Neltharian's Lair, you'll see us with the achievement. Hopefully this week. That might, I'm saying that optimistically, but yeah, we'll see. Gotta keep the spirits up. The potions are doing, they do like what 4 million. The DPS ones, at least the melee ones, do about 4 million damage each, which is incredible for a 20-second thing. You can pop twice during combat, especially when you can be in and out of combat pretty much every minute and just constantly resetting them. The other thing we might look at doing is selling Mythic plus 10 just for gold to pretty much pay for the potions. I don't know how much I want to dive into savings for that. I'd set out fund a few 100k, but we'll see how far that goes. Now we're just waiting for the last boss. I actually have broken boots here, so what we decide to do I popped my Jeeves before I went to go on a phone call, but um, I didn't repair, and you can't use Walter, as we find out. So I get traded a lovely 780 green boots, and we go for our first attempt on the boss. Just wait for it for a second. We do two hit this boss, but we'll just go through our first attempt first. Some lovely green boots, get some nice stamina intellect. Here we go. So first attempt on the boss. As I said at the start, we're not really concerned about the timers at all here. So we're pretty much just wanting to try and learn about as much of this place as we can, and then we'll come back and do it again. We kind of went into this not expecting to get the timer, as with most first runs we do. You know, it's good to get in there and learn the strategies. So we have the Destructor Tentacle here. Skittish is a fun thing. How we usually deal with the Skittish is we get the Hunter to misdirect, but he was attacking the ads in this fight. So the Destructor Tentacle went straight onto our melee and one hit both of them. So we Unk and B-Res, and we go for it again. Destructor Tentacle spawns in the back and instantly one hits me. So that's the fun thing about this boss, is the Destructor Tentacles can just do that. If they spawn on you, they're going to instant kill you and you're dead. So it's the joys of RNG in these dungeons. But that's alright. As you can see, all my gears here red, so we actually decide to wait the 30 minutes for the Jeeves to come up. So I'll pause it here and we'll continue back on the next boss attempt. Okay, here we go for the second attempt on the last boss. So our strategy for this will be just the Hunter misdirecting the tentacles in the middle. We're focusing down the Destructor Tentacles because I don't believe the tentacles on the side do anything. You just need to kill, I think, 8 tentacles before you transition. 5 remaining, so it's 6. So we just focus down the Destructor ones and we just kill the ones on the sides of the boat as we need to. The Destructor Tentacles, we just have, pretty much there's just a DPS race. We just have to kill them before the next one spawns. So as you can see, we are pretty in front of that. The ones on the side of the boat don't matter. But yeah, the quicker we get the Destructor Tentacles, the less damage goes out on the tank, the more damage I can do. So it's just generally beneficial to be killing them first. So for that mechanic, all you have to do is look to where his glowing hand is and run to the other side. I try and make sure in this phase to try and dispel people as quick as possible. This is probably one of the harder bosses to be killing as a Disc Priest, just because of all the split damage here. This is actually not going to be the kill, so we do wipe here. So that's just because we had 2 Destructor Tentacles come up, I believe. I wasn't actually paying too much attention to what was happening on the screen, so I don't know. But as you can see, it gets out of hand very quickly. I'm pretty sure we do kill it this attempt, though. So what we were thinking is maybe we just hero in this first phase. The second phase of this fight is actually really easy, if you know what you're doing. So we're all repairing here as a joke. Well, not really as a joke, but you know, haha, in case we wipe 10 times and have to wait again for Jeeves. I'm not sure if you can actually zone out of the dungeons while you're in between. It wouldn't really make sense because you can just hearth out, change your talents, and come back in for bosses, or change your spec or something like that. So I hope when you zone out, it doesn't reset. But I wasn't exactly keen to try it at this point because I don't really want to re-clear the thing. I just kind of want to get the chest, and so we actually get loot rather than it being a depleted keystone. So here we're just having a little bit of a strat discussion. And there we go. So misdirect goes out, as you can see there. Destructor Tentacle should be dying very quick. As you can see, no one's hitting the things on the side. That's just cleave. And the monk burst damage is insane. So power infusion, I pretty much use my power infusion off cooldown when I'm doing dungeons and stuff like that. So yeah, the monk gets one hit trying to karma the the tentacle in the middle. Um, it's kind of annoying, but that's kind of what you got to do. You got to be playing with stuff, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. We're not trying, to go for the timer at this point. So, try whatever you want, really. What we were going at, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. So we all stand on the right hand side, dodge the thing, instantly dispel as soon as it comes up. Um, I don't watch for where they are in this point. It's super easy to move from that green swirly, so I'm pretty much just focused on dispelling it as soon as it comes out, so we can make sure we reduce the damage and I can get as much damage out as possible. So as you can see here, the damage on the group is significantly lower as we're killing those destructive tentacles first. I can actually have a chance to stop spamming my Shadow Mend and go back to damage. Going back to damage allows me to actually heal the group. So we see a destructive tentacle spawning behind us there. Almost one hits the hunter. That's just kind of what makes this fight not very fun. Randomly spawning tentacles that will just one hit you. Barrage coming up. Move to the side. So there we go. So come down, easy, everybody dodge, instantly dispel, kill a destructive tentacle, and go back to killing the other tentacles. We go through our transition. So we just have our shaman and our monk pretty much interrupting, and then our off on a rotation, and our hunter and DK will be just getting, odd ones in between. You can do this just with 2 people interrupting, so there's not really much of an excuse to be missing a torrent. Another freeze, lovely. So here we go, Taint of the Sea, run to the side, dispel, run back into the middle. So we have Bellow coming up, it's on the left hand side, right hand side, sorry, so he runs to the left. Pretty much all team speakers at the moment is me just calling left, right, just calling out where to go. So it's pretty much straightforward from here. As you can see, the mana is kind of low, but the healing in this phase isn't very hard to heal if everybody interrupts. Man, these freezes are really annoying. So okay, Light's Wrath. Light's Wrath is kind of a very disinteresting ability, I find. I really don't think it does enough damage. Like it's not that high. Like it barely hits more than a penance in a 5-man. Like surely in a raid, I mean, you can get it up to higher, but my penance, you can get that buff on it. It hits for 200k crits, so it can hit up to a potential of 800k, which is more than my Light's Wrath is ever going to be doing in a 5-man. So it is. I find it a very disinteresting ability. See here, I get knocked over to the side, so I'm focused on healing myself up. Then we get a Bellow. If it doesn't freeze again, there you go. So Bellow, I just dodged that thing. So oh shit, run. Got hit by one thing there, so that wasn't too bad. They did nerf the damage of that, so it's not as threatening. But there we go. So make sure we keep the tank kind of high. Make sure we penance on the rest of the group. And we kill the boss shortly. Last is another Bellow. So as I said, all TeamSpeak is pretty much just, calling out what the corrupting bellows is, and there you go. There's our first ever attempt at the Mythic+10s with this comp and group. Was quite easy to do. So we should be able to get that tomorrow, and hopefully be pushing upwards of 13. See where we go. Obviously, it's going to be getting significantly harder from here, or as the damage increases. It's going to be a very wild ride, but we'll see what we can get to. Who knows how far the potions can carry us through. We're all here to have fun, see what we can do first week. It's kind of fun to push your class. It's a good way to learn as well. How to play Disc Priest. Obviously the rating environment is quite different, but it is a very, very fun spec to play, and I'm sure everyone's enjoying the Mythic+ dungeons. Yeah, well, thanks for watching. Tell me what you thought. If you like this style of thing, rather than just the raw footage. I won't upload the raw footage for this because it's literally just me talking. You can't hear anyone else talking, so unless you want to hear me call out random mechanics and talk to myself, pretty much, yeah, it's not the greatest. So thanks for watching.